Hello again. Ready for some more? I hope so. We're on the first pathway. Now, on the first pathway out of 3. And I hope you're having a great time with this. We took a break last session and focused again even more on what is going on with our kids. What is happening in their brain, and why do we need to shift to these 3 pathways, to shift to a stronger focus on relationship, emotional intelligence. I hope that was helpful to you. Happy for you to interact with us on the Habit platform. Any questions you have about that? You're also going to watch the bonus session. The bonus session is on the screens epidemic. Another helpful session to think about what's going on with your brain, and particularly your child's brain on screens, how it's hyperstimulating. Okay, so these things that are going on with the brain, this emotional intensity and excitement can really hinder the growth of strengths. But we want to work on strengths. Strengths combats those emotions, helping the frontal lobe focus on not just the things, the bad things, the crazy things, the negative things that happen, but think about the positive things, which give us a sense of purpose and meaning. In the strengths world, people that look at the strengths movement also often think that we neglect weaknesses. Well, the weaknesses of the movement is that we don't talk about weaknesses, just strengths. That is not true. It's a matter of where we put our emphasis, our focus. Well, about 20 years ago, my first exposure to the strengths movement was through the book First, Break All the Rules. It's a business book, actually, business leadership book. And my team of leaders with InterVarsity Christian Fellowship, we were reading it together and talking about how it applies. A fascinating read. They looked at managers, particularly managers in business all over the world. They found that the best ones, most effective ones, break a lot of the common rules. One of the common rules is that everybody should get to this even level with all the different aspects of responsibilities. So we have a low one, we should really work hard. That's what we should put our effort on, getting that up. I mentioned this before, the science is pretty good, that you can make some progress there with lots of effort, but you can really make progress on your strengths. So it's a matter of focus. Managers, they found that focused on the strengths of their people found that they could be much more fruitful and successful. They could make huge progress. And we need, though, can't ignore weaknesses. We need to manage them. And there's a number of ways that we manage them, and we'll get into that. But let's talk about this idea. What are we talking about when we talk about weaknesses? Anyone into sailing? This could apply to almost anything, but let's think about weaknesses in terms of sailing or boating. A boat, if a beautiful boat, it can go fast. Paddles and sails help propel it. A motor helps propel it forward. It's doing what it's supposed to do. Those are the strengths. But weaknesses would be things like leaks in the boat. If the boat has a leak, it's going to be a problem. It's going to slow down those strengths, right? I would suggest that, improper rigging, improper understanding of how to sail, all those things are going to slow you down too. Those are weaknesses that will decrease the effectiveness of this boat. You can take almost anything in life and think about your weaknesses. I'm a big picture kind of guy. I'm a creative thinker. I like to strategize. I have lots of ideas and dreams. I'm a maximizer. So I am thinking about ways to accomplish things and having grand schemes and ideas. And so the lower strengths, or then we could call them my weaknesses, those are things like kind of routine management, paperwork, numbers. Me and numbers don't get along very well. I've been able to manage them, but they slow me down. They keep me from doing the things, spending time on the things that I'm best at. People things, big picture things, dreaming, helping people, come alongside of people that are hurting and need care or training. So we need to pay attention to these strengths as well. Our society tends to put this focus on weaknesses. I meant weaknesses. These focus on weaknesses way at the top. It becomes very negative. But in its proper place, we still need to address weaknesses, just like we still need wisdom and character, even to use our strengths well. Let's take the boat here. Sailing can be sailing in a great direction and can be a fast boat, making great time. But if the boat is not going toward the correct destination, it's going to be a problem. It's going to be a big problem. That's the idea. We need to manage our weaknesses and bring character, wisdom to bear even on our strengths, how to use them effectively. That's another pathway. There's a lot more to be said about weaknesses, and we're going to get to that, but let's do an activity now. So you don't have to listen to me anymore for a little while. The activity's here, and you can pause this, stop, don't go any further until you do this activity. I want you to create a healthy strength. We're going to go back to strengths now, okay? And I want you to journal. Go onto the Habit platform, or if you're just using a book, that's okay. Examine something in your life that isn't going like you want it to go. Okay, so something's a challenge, a problem. What strength might be overplayed here? So another thing that we do with our strengths is we overplay them sometimes. We rely on them too much, and they're not as effective. Overplayed. I'll talk about that in a minute. And then I want you to think about a habit. What might you do to train that talent and turn it into a strength? So, you might just want to focus on, as the parent now, here, this is for you as the parent, you might want to take one of your children who's challenging. Think about your strengths as a parent. What can you do to train those strengths, the talent, to turn it into a strength as you work with that child? Then I encourage you to do this activity with your child, or have them do it in their journal or on the Habit platform, whichever they're doing, have them do it. But you do it first. Examine something in your life, and then you can help them examine something. What's challenging? Just having them do that, you may end up having an interesting discussion even before they journal. Get connected. Don't try to solve the problem for them. Don't solve the problem for them. Partner with them. Let them have a go at dealing with this challenge. Let them identify it and let them have a go at it. Okay, I hope you found that exercise helpful. Again, focusing on strengths a good bit. Oftentimes, we can deal with an overplayed strength, or we can deal with a weakness by taking one of our strengths and applying that in that situation. A different strength can help. Let me tell you about a young man who's plays baseball with me, and he is an energizer. I think I may have told you a story similar to this. He's an energizer, and he's lots of energy, hard to sit still. He's got another strength called thinker. He can overplay the energizer strength, and it can really get the control of him because of his emotions going crazy, and he just wants to be busy. He's got something in mind. He wants to do it. He wants to use that energy and let it out. That's understandable, right? That he wants to do that. He can try just to force himself to back off that energizer, but I think he'd be more effective if he brings this thinker to bear. Thinker, use the brain. A lot of young men are attracted to baseball because they can use their energizer and their thinker. A lot of action, certain points in the baseball game, and then there's in-between time. In-between time can be used to think, to prepare for the energy times. That's what we're working on. That's what I work on with all baseball players. You gotta think. You gotta use your thinker. If you don't have a strong thinker, we'll help you develop that a bit. Okay, so that's always good to keep in mind. Now, let's talk about 5 strategies for managing your weaknesses. These are 5 things. There are probably more, but I'm going to explain these for you. As you go through this yourself, I want you to think about a weakness. Something, if you've taken an assessment yourself, one of the ones that's toward the bottom. Well, for me, I will talk about my challenges with managing, administrating, finances, things like that, paperwork. Oh man, if I could not do any of that, that would be awesome. First strategy is to find out what you don't do well and stop doing it. Just don't do as much of it. Find a job, find a situation where you don't have to do that much. And you can do as little as possible and do what you do well. One of my top strengths is empathy. And God has blessed me with the ability. I don't even have to work at it, do anything with it a lot of the times, because it's been developed now over years. It was a talent, now it's been developed as a strength. And I am able to feel the pain of other people and feel the joy. I can empathize. I can feel what they feel. I can connect because I feel what they're feeling. The sadness, the pain, the struggle, the frustration, whatever it might be, it really connects me to people, because when you feel like somebody understands you and knows what you're going through, boy, you're attracted to that person. And when you care, and I'm able to care for them as well, and often listen, it's very important, very helpful. That's what I do really well. And so if I have to spend too much time on paperwork and administration and busy work, I can't do as much of that. It actually hinders my emotional ability to do that. My emotional strength saps me of that, some energy. So if I can do as little of it as possible, that's good. I'm in a place where I really can't do none of it. I'm starting a new business, and there's a lot of work to do, and I can't afford to hire as many people as I'd like. Just not feasible. So that's one. Second one, though, if you can't do that, subcontracting or delegating could be another way to say that. But finding someone else who can do that work. You know, when you subcontract, if you were a general contractor building a house, you would subcontract the parts that you either don't want to do or are not good at to get more help with people that are really skilled at the things that they do well. So you get an electrician, you get a plumber, you get a carpenter, you get a roofer, you get a foundation, concrete person, stone person. You gotta have all those people. Somebody that does the finish work and the paint. Need to find quality people on the team who can do that. At work, in the family. Since we're talking a lot about parenting and family's a great place to do this. My friend Scott Turansky and his wife Carrie, they raised 5 kids, and they developed what they called the Turansky team. They focused on being a family and being a team. And being a team in this sense was needing to work together and needing to have each person use their strengths for the good of the family, for the good of the team. We get this much better in athletics, in sports, and in other things, in the theater. There's places where we know that one person can't do everything that needs to be done, need lots of help. In the theater, we have people that not only act and maybe sing, but we have behind the scenes people that do lighting and makeup, design the sets, sell the tickets, lots of different things. Lots of people need to use their strengths. Same in the family. Use this, folks, in your family. Talk about your family as a team and help everybody manage their weaknesses by giving the person who's strong at something, give them more responsibility in that area. Okay, the third strategy is complementary partnering. This is a bit different than subcontracting. Subcontracting is giving a responsibility to someone else. Complementary partnering is taking my strength and finding someone with a different strength, and we actually work together. We plan together. We contribute to a task with our different strengths. My wife and I are very much that way. Again, I'm the big picture person. She's the cautious, detail person. We make a great team because she brings her caution, her good questions, her awareness of details. I bring my big picture that stretches us. She backs us off sometimes, and what we're doing helps us slow down. Complementary partnering. What a great thing it is if you can have a complementary partner in whatever you're doing. And so hopefully, if there are two parents, you can parent complement in a complementary way. It's a great thing to do, to parent with the help of somebody else. If you are a single parent, find somebody who will be a complementary partner, a guide, a coach for you. Don't go it alone. Find somebody that can be that person for you. That's number 3. Let's go to number 4, support systems. What are support systems? You know, sometimes when we're strong at something, you know, we can handle that well on our own. But in other times we have a weakness and we need support systems. That can be apps, computer programs, not just people, but other things to help. So we want to particularly make this coaching or guiding in the accomplishment of the shift and the making of the shift. We want to make it accessible to as many people as possible. So we have found a support system. It's the Habit platform. It makes it easier. If we're going to do one-on-one personal coaching, I'm going to spend hours on the phone or on Zoom with you or in person. It takes a lot of our time, and so the cost of it has to be greater. We can reduce the costs, and I can still do what I do well, but I can do it online. I can do it in the evening. I can do it at different times that maybe I couldn't have calls. And then we can supplement that, if need be, by more personal face-to-face or online coaching. So that's just one example of support system. There are all kinds of great accounting programs now for businesses that can help manage a lot of the business side of things. I have a program that I'm working with that does my payroll, calculates all my reports for the government, taxes, withholdings, and all that, figures it all out, submits the reports to the government. I have to do that. Me, not liking paperwork and numbers, I can't tell you what a support that is to me, to have a trustworthy program that can do that. Oh, it's a blessing. Wonderful things. The 5th thing here is alternatives. Alternatives. Is there any other way to accomplish what needs to be done? This is just thinking outside of the box. Is there something else? Trying something differently. Trying something new or different. Brainstorm with people. One of the ways to manage our weaknesses is to use a strength to compensate for that weaknesses. For instance, for me, I'm a maximizer. So I am able to think about other strategies, other ways to do things better, recognizing their weakness, because I'm able to, God just gave me the ability again to think about ideas and ways to do things that are different. It's an amazing thing. Alternatives. So let's think a little bit more about this idea of alternatives. Sometimes our area that's not a talent is really not a weakness because it's not needed. It's a great thing, right? It's only a weakness, really, if it's absolutely needed to succeed. I need to use one of those strategies to find ways to accomplish that. But it's very important to think about using creative alternatives. I like this little diagram up here, the two different paths. They're going to both end up at the same place. There are different ways to accomplish what needs to be done. So let's take a manager, someone that's managing a business or a parent. Okay, sometimes you can get a child to do something by using a firm hand and instructing them and asking them to do it, or use consequences or whatever. Another way to get there, though, is to help a child envision the end result, the goal, and then empowering them, giving them tools, and equipping them, giving them tools they need to get there. Rather than just pushing them to get there, tell them how to do it. I'm amazed that a lot of coaches, baseball coach again, a lot of coaches just yell and scream and try to motivate, get their players to do something by that. Whereas I find it's much more helpful to focus on the positive and to teach, to instruct, and to demonstrate. Calmly, quietly support, empower a player to be able to do what they need to do. If they're not able to bunt, we can help them learn to bunt by changing the way they're holding the bat, how they're coming at the ball, all kinds of different things. Okay, so creative alternatives. Different people manage differently and get things done. Some people take a managerial approach that's more supportive and friendly to their employers and come alongside. Others are more of a commanding presence and can get things done that way. Different ways to accomplish the same thing. Consider that. So this is a great little idea here. It's a map. I happen to live right on that line there. We're talking about going from Washington to New York City, and they're right smack in the middle, right a little bit north of Philly, right on that main line. But so let's just take this as an example. If I was going to get from Washington to New York City, I'm going for a day to visit New York. We're going to get there. I want to encourage you. It's a great exercise to do with your whole family. Okay, look at a map like this. You can take a different destination if you want. Let's say you're someplace else in the country and you want to travel further. How can you get there? And brainstorm together as a family. What are the different ways that we could go? Different modes of transportation, for driving, the different directions, for walking, the different paths. How can we get there? Then together as a family, choose one. You can come to unity if you want, come to a consensus, or you could vote on it, whatever, come to a majority opinion. Choose one. Then I want you to talk about your family taking a trip to this place. In fact, ideally, if you have something coming up in the next year and you know you're going someplace, use that for real. Talk about the different ways to get there. Then choose one. And then talk about what strengths does each person in the family have that can contribute to a successful trip. If you're going to drive, somebody's a great driver. Maybe somebody else is a really good navigator. Maybe someone else is really good at creatively finding the activities that we're going to do. And maybe somebody else really likes thinking about where we're going to stay. And maybe somebody else is just a real encourager and can support everybody else. Team player and the cheerleader and the rah-rah. Help everybody else do their job well. That's important too. Okay, so that's your assignment. Think about a destination, ideally someplace you're going to really go. Creative alternatives, how can I get there? And then discuss each family member's strengths that are going to help us make that a great trip. Please do this exercise. It's going to really help you form this family team, focusing on strengths. And then it's going to help each person manage their weaknesses as well by not focusing on that, but focusing on their strength. Each person contributes in this team effort. Love to know how it goes. Please journal about this. Tell me how this experience goes for you. And I'll be anxious to hear. All right. Those are the main sessions in the Make the Shift training. Make the Shift training, we start with the first pathway, strengths. We also talked about managing weaknesses. One of the things that really impacts strengths and impacts what's going on in the brain, especially of an adolescent or a pre-adolescent, is things that are connected to screens. Please watch the bonus video about the screens epidemic. And then here are some other things you can do. You can continue working on strengths on your own, basically, but you can still have access to the Make the Shift Facebook group. Continue to share what's going on, share questions. We'll be monitoring that and looking for things there. If you'd like to just continue on again with strengths, you can subscribe to the 3 pathways. You'll be on the Facebook group, but you can also continue with the Habit platform, which means your coach will be continuing to interact with you and be seeing what you're doing and helping you along with your progress. And you can ask specific questions of your coach. Those are private things. Facebook group is more for the larger community there. It's good to have both community support as well as, private interactions with your coach. You can, if you want more personal attention or coaching sessions, schedule those coaching sessions with me or with another coach, and we can delve in more deeply to the issues that you're dealing with. Some, as you saw in that one video, some are more difficult. Anytime we're talking about the screens epidemic, we're talking about potential addiction, and there are other types of addiction: smoking weed, vaping, serious depression, suicide, ideation, violence. Any of these things are serious and important. We're going to need more than just the focus on strengths. And so you can get help. We can guide you as to how to get help, where we can help you in some ways too to move forward on those specifically challenging issues. You can ask for that, though. We'll be happy to consider that. And then you could move on and go through pathway number 2, second aspect of making the shift. And we get you training, support, and encouragement there too.